Hi guys. Okay, so I'm not going to be in class for a little bit just because I've been really sick lately. And so Miss Pagano is going to be subbing for you for today, and then we're going to figure it out as the days go by. But the good news is I can still make these videos for you, and so I can still be your teacher even when I am sick at home. So this video, you might notice that there is Alice in Wonderland, like this book. I don't have my iPad stand, so I had to stack my iPad on a bunch of books. So if my iPad falls in the middle of this, just bear with me, okay? I also don't have a plain whiteboard, so I'm using this like meal tracker thing that I have for my refrigerator, so that's why there's all these lines. So like I said, just bear with me. Okay, we are gonna finish off our notes from yesterday. So you can go ahead and get your notebooks out and flip to our notes that we started yesterday. I think we said that it was like finding products with decimals or something, multiplying something with that. So flip to that. Miss Pagano can pause this video while you guys get that out, but I'm about to get started, okay? So we had a word problem and it was talking about twine and everything like that. So I am pretty sure that okay, so actually now that I'm thinking about this, I don't remember exactly what problem we did. So what I think we're gonna do is we are going to do the wedding planner cheese problem, which I think we actually got to also. Yeah, I think that's the one that we were doing. So I think you were multiplying 2.15 or 2 15/100 times 16. I think that's the problem. If this is not the problem that we were doing yesterday in your notebook, I want you to write this problem down right now, okay? And so I want you to put a little 1 here if you have not already. This is the first thing, okay? But remember, we haven't learned how to multiply decimals by whole numbers yet, and it's a little bit different than just multiplying regular whole numbers. So remember, there are 2 different ways that we can do this. We only learned the first way yesterday. The first way is what do we need to do to make this a little bit easier to solve. This was a word problem originally, so remember it had the word about in it, and when it has about, we don't have to solve exactly the problem like step for step. We can do what can we do? You guys can call out the answer. Hopefully somebody knows. We can round it and estimate it, okay? So what we're gonna do here is we are going to estimate this decimal number to the nearest whole number, okay? What is going to be our whole number here? Remember from yesterday, it should be this 2 because this 2 is really the only whole number that we have. Also, if you hear those bells, that's Gus. He's running around. Okay, so this 2 is a whole number. So there we go. My 1 is going to tell me that my 2 is going to stay the same, or am I going to add 1? My 2 is going to stay the same, okay? And then I can have my decimal and my 0, 0, because my other numbers turn to 0, okay? Okay, so now I've rounded my 2, and I want to make sure that I round my 16 as well, okay? So what we can do here is we can either choose to round this from the tens place using the ones place. That's really what we're gonna do because there's no other number over here, so we're not gonna underline like nothing. So we're gonna do this, okay? My 6, is that going to tell me that my 1 needs to stay the same, or do we add 1 to this circled number? We add 1 to this circled number, so that 1 becomes a 2, and the 6 becomes a 0. It has rounded up to 20, okay? So now I have 2 and 0 hundredths, or just 2 times 20, okay? And then remember, we already know what 2 times 20 is. We can just ignore the decimal point. 2 times 20 is 40. And if you wanted to, you could even make it like this, okay? So our first way that we found our about answer, our estimate, is going to be by estimating both of these numbers, okay? So we rounded 2.15 to 2, 16 to 20, and we got our answer. Okay, so this should already be in your notes, right? Okay, now I'm going to erase this, and we are going to go on our second way that we can do this, which I think I already started talking about, but I cannot really remember. So if you have not already, you're gonna put a 2 here, and now we're gonna do the same thing. So we have 2.15 times 16, okay? What we're gonna do here is our second way is just changing these to compatible numbers. Remember we talked about compatible numbers, that we can do addition compatible numbers, subtraction, but with multiplication, they're like 1 times 1, or 2 times 5, or 10 times 10. All of those really easy numbers that we can do really quickly in our head. But 2.15 times 16 is not an example of compatible numbers, right? So remember I said I didn't want us to do arrows. Let's do dot, dot, dot. This is an ellipses. So that way we can show that we are changing these to compatible numbers. Okay, this is going to be really similar to rounding, but you can kind of do it a little bit faster. So 2.15, the easiest way to change a whole or a decimal number to a compatible number is let's just change it to a whole number. So let's look at our whole number here. We have 2 and then 0.15. If I wanted to change this to something, think about if it was $2.15, which it really wasn't the problem. $2.15. What if we wanted to change that to just like whole dollars? So $2 or $3 or $4 or $1. What would we change $2.15 to? What's it closest to? It's closest to $2. So I don't have enough cents to get it all the way to $3. If it was like $2.99 or $2.70, that's closer to $3. I'm just gonna change this to 2. Okay, 16. 16 is compatible. I could probably figure out 2 times 16, which is 32. So I could keep 16 the same, or I could change it to something different. What is really close to 16 that you think you can do 2 times really quickly in your head? You could be thinking all these different numbers. You could be thinking, oh, we could go to 20 again, or we could keep it at 16. One thing that I could think of is we could change it to 15. It's really close. 16 is really close to 15, and you know what 2 times 15 is, right? That is 30. Okay, 30 or 30.00. Okay, these are examples. Like I said, you could also keep this as 2 and 16. You could keep those as the compatible numbers, and that could be 32. There are lots of different ways that you can do this. Okay, so this is the second way. We're not rounding necessarily. We could kind of consider this one rounding, where we're just thinking which is it closest to, but we're really just changing it to compatible numbers. Okay, so this I don't think that you finished in your notes, so make sure that you have this little example in your notes for your number 2. So when we're talking about estimating products of decimals, there are 2 different ways. Rounding is the first one, so we round both of them, and the second one is changing to compatible numbers. Okay, now we're gonna do another example, okay? Okay, so with that first one, you could write like example 1. Now you can write example 2. Okay, trying to make sure that you can see everything. Okay, so remember we have 2 different ways of solving. So we're gonna practice doing both ways, and then when you are doing your independent work today, then you can choose which way you want. So you can either be rounding or you can use compatible numbers. Okay, so our problem right now is going to be 105 times 0.75. Okay, we're gonna do this the first way. We're gonna round them, okay? So we're gonna draw our 2 arrows. So I want you to set this problem up in your notes. You should have example 2 with this little 1. We're gonna do our first way. Okay, so we're gonna be rounding this. The way I wanna round, you could round a 105 a lot of different ways, right? You could round it to the nearest 100, to the nearest 10, to the nearest 1. However you really wanna do it is fine, as long as you're getting it to be easier. So what I would do, I'm just gonna round this to the nearest 100, okay? That's gonna be really easy. So I'm gonna underline it right there. So you can do this too. Let's just round it to the nearest 100. Okay. We look at that 0. 0 to 4, the circle stays the same, but 5 to 9, adding 1 is the game. It's 0 to 4, so my circle stays the same. All the other numbers to the right turn to 0, so my 105 has turned to 100 because I'm rounding it to the nearest 100. Okay, now I'm going to multiply by this. I need to round this to the nearest whole number, which you might think, oh, but this is a 0. But let's see. Okay, if we're rounding it to the nearest whole number, remember we're looking at the whole number. We're underlining the digit next to it. That 7 is in the 5 to 9 range. So my 0 is going to go to, what is it going to change to? It's going to change to 1. I'm going to have my decimal, and then these two digits are going to turn to 0. Okay? So right now, my 105, I rounded it to 100, and my 0.75 has rounded up to 1. If you think of this in dollars, 75 cents is really close to $1. Okay? So this 1.00 is the same as 1. If my 1.00 is the same as 1, this means that my problem is 100 times 1. What is 100 times 1? This should be super easy for you guys. It is 100, or 100.00, okay? So this is our first way. I would say that 100 times 1 is a lot easier than doing 105 times 0.75, right? So that was our first way. Okay, we're rounding these. So make sure that you have this written in your notebook. If Ms. Pagano needs to pause it so you guys can finish this up, that's okay, but I'm gonna move on, okay? So I'm gonna erase this. And we're gonna do our second way, okay? Remember our problem was 105 times 0.75. Okay, I'm gonna do my ellipses. Uh-oh, we're supposed to have 3 dots. Okay, so now remember our second method is we are using what? Compatible numbers, okay? So we're making those compatible numbers. We're gonna make this a lot easier. This is not an easy problem. So what I'm gonna do first is let's work on this decimal. We're gonna try and change this to a compatible number. I'm gonna tell you right now, if there's a decimal in it, usually it's not a compatible number. So let's try and make this a whole number. 0.75. The whole number right now is 0. So I can either make this closer to 0 or I can make this closer to 1, right? Because 1 is the next whole number above 0. 75, if you think of quarters or money, 75 cents, that means you almost have $1, right? $1. So I can make my compatible number just 1. 0.75 can go up to 1. If I had, for example, 1.75, I probably would not want to change this to 1. This would become 2, right? Because it's like $2.75. But I am going to keep it like this because that was my problem, and I'm changing it to 1. 105. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, anything times 1 is a pretty easy problem, right? But if I wanted to change 105 to a number that's really easy, I could change it probably to 100, right? That would be pretty easy. I could change it to 110 if I thought that was easier, or I could just keep it at 105 because I know that 105 times 1 is 105, right? So this one would be really easy because I get to change it to 1. But if I would say that it was like 4, something times 4, something times 5, I might want to change that to 100 to make it easy in my brain. Okay, so this is that second problem. Okay, so by now you should feel a little bit more comfortable with rounding and estimating products of decimals, right? So you have 2 options here. You're going to either round both of them, remember you're going to estimate and round, or you can change them to compatible numbers. Okay, so we've done some examples. Now you're going to do some more practice problems, okay? So I want you to get out page 135 for your textbook, okay? So you should have that page. You should have your textbook already because it was on the slides. But turn to page 135, okay? There are lots of problems on that page. What you're going to do is with Ms. Pagano, I think it would be best if you guys did numbers 3 through 6 together. So there are 3 problems and numbers 3 through 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they will give you a multiplication problem. You can choose to either use compatible numbers or rounding and estimating to solve those. You guys can kind of see Gus is right here. He's laying down. So you can use either way. You do not have to do both. You can choose one. And there's going to be lots and lots of different answers. But as long as you are rounding correctly or using the correct kind of compatible numbers, then that's great. Okay, so you're going to do 3 through 6 together. You're going to check it on the whiteboard. It'll be great. Then you're going to do 7 and 8 by yourself. Okay, 7 and 8. You're going to raise your hand when you're done with 7 and 8. Ms. Pagano is going to come around and check it. And then I want you to do 9 through 16 by yourself. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. 3 through 6 you're doing as a class. 7 and 8 by yourself. Then she's checking them. 9 through 16 you're doing by yourself, then you're going to turn it in. Remember, when you're working in your textbook, you don't have a lot of space. So you need to get a scratch piece of paper and you need to be writing your problems like this. I'm going to show you because it makes it a lot easier for you to show your work and for Miss Pagano to grade it, okay? So if, for example, this is your piece of paper, right? And you have your lines here and you have your 3 circles or whatever. You have your line here. Remember, your name is going to go here. I want you to put page 135 to the next to it, okay? And then you're going to put number 1, and then you're going to write the problem. So let's say it was like 105 times 1.2 or something. That's what you're going to do, and you're going to choose your method. You're either going to write your arrows or do your ellipses, solve it, and then when you have your answer, you're going to box it, okay? Please, please make sure you are boxing your answer because I cannot find your answer if it is not boxed, because you guys have a lot of, we're working on making sure this is neat and tidy. Your boxing is super important, okay? Okay, if you have any questions at all, Ms. Pagano can answer them, and if she doesn't know the answer, she can text me or call me and I will help you guys, okay? So I miss you. I wish I could be there in class, but hopefully this worked okay. And yeah, I will keep on working with these videos, and I miss you. I should probably change this to a sad face because I do. Now it's a crazy face. There we go. I miss you. Okay, do a great job for Miss Pagano. Like I said, those are going to be independent, so you need to make sure that you are working quietly.